Recently, we reported on the death of an incarcerated man at the Dade Correctional Institution in South Florida. His name is Darren, or was Darren Rainey, and he died in a shower at this correctional institution. Well, there were a number of inmates there who testified that he was burned purposely by personnel at that institution as a punishment for spreading feces on himself and in his cell. And it seemed as though the case was a little shady because prosecutors decided not to pursue any charges against the prison guards that were involved in putting him in that shower. Well, the Huffington Post actually did this incredible investigation. I want to give them a lot of credit because what they did is they compared evidence that they were able to view themselves to the prosecutor's report on the death of Darren Rainey. And so we're gonna go through it point by point and give you what the evidence indicates and what the prosecutor's report said, which of course you'll see a lot of inconsistencies. Okay, so just to give you a little more context, Darren Rainey's death was so gruesome that he had skin like coming off of his body, okay? And the prosecutors were arguing that that slippage was caused because his body was decomposing and because they were moving his body from one place to another. But that doesn't happen a couple hours after someone dies. After someone dies, it's not like their skin starts slipping off of their bodies immediately or a couple hours later. So it seems shady, but we'll get to the details of that later.
I just want to say a couple of quick things here. Again, more context. Darren Rainey had obviously some mental issues there.
Schizophrenia, he was schizophrenic.
Right, and that's why he was doing the thing with the feces. He needed help. He needed someone from the medical profession to take care of him. Instead, they thought, oh yeah, you're trying to show us. He's not trying to show you anything, he's schizophrenic, right? And so we're gonna punish you. And apparently this was something that they did on a regular basis. And he was screaming in the shower the whole time, I can't take it anymore. Other inmates said that he looked like a boiled lobster. But Florida authorities looked at him and go, I don't know what you're talking about. No, these guards, they were probably just trying to clean him up. Oh, did he die and his skin was boiled off him? I mean, it just was normal slippage, and as they were moving him, it slipped off of him. Yeah, like your skin slips off of you under normal circumstances. But now we have more details.
All right, so a trove of official documents reviewed by the Huffington Post indicates that some information from police, the prison, and emergency services was not included in the prosecutor's final report, which raises questions about the circumstances surrounding Rainey's death. Numerous official photos taken of Rainey's body several hours after he died were also reviewed by the Huffington Post. The images reveal extreme damage to his skin, with wounds over his entire body and significant sections of skin missing, exposing red and white tissue, and in some areas what appear to be blood vessels. Now, let's start off with the shower. There seemed to be some inconsistency regarding the temperature of the shower. Now, the inmates who testified said that the prison guards would use the shower as a form of punishment, and they would put inmates in there to burn them, to punish them. Now, the shower apparently didn't have working water controls in the room, and the water didn't spray from the shower head. It had been rigged to use water taps in an adjacent janitorial closet. Now, Captain Darlene Dixon, the environmental health and safety officer who looked into this and investigated it, told investigators that her first attempt to test the water in the shower room, or told investigators about it, after the prison official who accompanied her turned on the hot water from inside the janitorial closet, the water hit the wall of the shower and splashed on her hand and was hurting her because it was too hot. That was information that was not included in the prosecutor's report. The prosecutor's report highlights the county medical examiner's conclusion that Rainey wasn't burned.
She had to withdraw her hand immediately. And remember, she's one of the officers here, okay? They left him in there for hours.
All right, so there's more. Lieutenant Alexander Lopez, a firefighter and paramedic with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, reported that he examined Rainey's body about 50 minutes after he was found dead on the shower floor with second and third degree burns on approximately 30% of his body. The prosecutor's report says a nurse failed to take Rainey's body temperature, but in her original report, she noted that she had and registered it nearly 105 degrees. Okay, so both of those things are relevant because remember, remember, the prosecutor said, no burns, what are you talking about? There's no burns. But you had a firefighter, Lieutenant Alexander Lopez saying, no, there were burns on 30% of his body. Didn't include it in the prosecutor's report.
Because they're not prosecutors, they're defense attorneys for the cops. They're totally derelict in their duty. Their duty is supposed to be to the citizens of their state, but instead they serve the local police who are their friends and their colleagues. They work on many cases together. It's insane that we have local prosecutors investigate local cops. Federal prosecutors need to investigate cops who don't know them, who don't work with them every day. Otherwise, you're gonna have cases like this when they're obviously in the tank for the local guards and saying things like, oh, I don't see the second and third degree burns. Oops, I left that out of my prosecutorial report. And say, oh, well, maybe your skin could just slip off of you when it's obvious that they boiled a guy alive.
Yeah. And so Lieutenant Alexander Lopez was not the only professional involved in this investigation who noted that he suffered from burns. Brittany Wilson, who worked at Dade Correctional Institution as a licensed practical nurse, writes in her report, which indicates she examined Rainey's body 10 minutes after it was discovered, that he was found with first-degree burns to 90% of his body and that his skin was hot/warm to the touch. Also, based on photos that the Huffington Post did review, and Matt Ferner is the reporter who looked into this story. Entire swaths of skin and in places what appear to be multiple layers are either missing, bunched up at the edges of wounds, or hanging loosely at the edges of wounds. What I'm about to read is super graphic, so I want to give you a warning. According to the Huffington Post, Rainey's chest and back appear to be most severely damaged. His chest wound exposes a dark red layer of tissue from his neck to mid-abdomen. White tissue is exposed on his entire upper and mid-back, with some red splotches throughout the large exposed area. Rainey had a tattoo on his upper left arm under his shoulder, which is nearly indecipherable because it appears that several layers of skin are missing.
Look, what they did to him is horrific, and he's dead. That's a severe crime that should be investigated. But to me, the bigger injustice is the prosecutors who are supposed to represent you turning around and going, I don't see any criminal action here. Not only do I not see murder, which this is very arguably murder when you burn someone alive and melt their skin off of them, but she says, I don't see any crime. And then you take evidence that is clearly in the record of that crime and you don't put it in your report.
There's one very clear criminal in this case, and it's Miami-Dade State Attorney Katherine Fernandez Rundle. That's who the criminal is. The person who has the audacity to view this exact same evidence, see these images of someone's body burnt because of this shower and because of the fact that these guards use the shower to punish a schizophrenic man. She can look at that same evidence and back away and say, no, there's no wrongdoing here. And the problem is, not only is there a gross injustice in regard to this man's life, it's gonna be a gross injustice for all the other incarcerated individuals in this correctional facility who have to deal with these guards who never have to deal with any charges for their wrongdoing, for their murder in this case. It's insane. This is insanity. We don't value lives. And by the way, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what was he doing in prison in the first place? Maybe he was a dangerous, violent criminal. He was there for a drug conviction. He was there for a drug conviction, and he's dead now.
Look, this is how power crushes the powerless. And part of the point of this whole show, we're trying to fight back for you guys. And a lot of people criticize us for that. They say, oh yeah, look at these guys who are trying to opportunistically serve the audience. Yeah, there's plenty of people serving power. And I guarantee you, and good work by the Miami Herald, wonderful job of journalism down there. So I'm not blaming everybody over there, but not by a long shot. Great job in this case by the Huffington Post. Miami Herald did the first story. Okay, but do you see government officials in Florida raging about this? Do you see the governor? Do you see the Republicans in charge saying, oh my God, how dare you? I'm here to protect our citizens. I don't see it. Instead, what does do? Power protects power. And if you're gonna get crushed in the meanwhile, well, you're just an average American citizen. They don't give a damn about you. Our journalism drive is almost over. It ends in Trump's first 100 days. We need to hire more reporters and more watchdogs. Let's do that right now at tytnetwork.com/go.